Rocky Mountain Mills is constantly growing. Between the breweries, the tap rooms, and the restaurants, it's changing all the time. We talked with Capital Broadcasting's executive brewmaster, Sebastian Wolfrum, to learn more about the mills and some upcoming events. And we're here with Sebastian Wolfrum. Sebastian, how you doing, man?
Good to see you.
Good to see you. You've been with the brew mill, well, it's Rocky Mountain Mills now. You've been with them since the inception of the mills itself, right?
I've been involved early on, so I came on board initially to verify the brewing component of the project at the time, which was quite a bit larger and would have encompassed most of the mill property. Okay. It was a large contract brewing manufacturing facility where the incubation piece were multiple small brewers, and Nash Community College as the education component was a subset.
Okay.
And then with how everything comes together, it evolved and eventually turned into what we now have. Lots of office space that's going to be developed, apartments, a lot of living around, and then the incubator piece, which is now active.
Right. Together,
with the classroom here, the production lab, as you guys call it, from Nash Community College. So those components have started up, and that's sort of the core piece of where I initially got involved like 3.5 years ago at this point.
Right. You've got several tap rooms and breweries on site now. What kind of expansion are you looking for on the brew side of the mill?
So as you rightfully said, it started out with 2 houses that had been converted into taproom breweries, really. And so one of them is Koi Pond, the other one is Tarboro Brewing Company, and they have small systems similar to what we see behind us here that are really only designed to serve the taps inside the space and do a couple hundred barrels a year to kind of serve beer freshly brewed on site and kind of start an initial engagement of the Rocky Mountain and larger community to craft beer and fresh made beer on site, which didn't exist before. And so that was sort of the first stage, and then last year we opened that incubation portion where we have multiple breweries and other beverage enterprises, really. One of them is Planetary Elixir, who makes elixir, so it's not just beer.
Oh, okay.
And we're all under the same roof in the building on the other side here, where there's shared packaging and shared infrastructure. And the idea is that everybody brews together, learns together, troubleshoots together, and all the systems are the same, so everybody struggles or succeeds in the same settings. And so the idea is there to really get businesses started in a lease setup. And so all of the brewery entities here at Rocky Mountain Mills are in some ways low investment startups where they sign a lease with the Rocky Mountain Mills as the tenant, as the landlord, and the tenants have a chance to start a brewing business with a strong concept to then develop eventually into their own brewery wherever that might be. It may not be in Rocky Mountain, maybe somewhere else, but that's part of it. And part of this incubation idea of really just starting the idea to then eventually get real about what your brewery should be, how your funding should look, what you're going for. Just a brewery, a production brewery, a brew pub. There's all these layers that you can choose from at this point, and you can succeed in various ways. And so that's sort of the idea here, and the education that we're going to start off here later in March into April. In partnership with Nash Community College is a core piece of this learning experience.
Well, speaking of education, we were talking a little bit earlier about the mill and mash that we're going to be holding out here. Would you like to expand a little bit more on that?
Yeah, so since we're talking about education, the idea is to take folks who sign a lease, normally 3 years or so, and by the end of those 3 years have them ready to really start an actual business with their own financing, with their own concept, and really understanding of what they need to do to succeed going forward. And so the education is twofold. So on the one hand, we want to really be a resource, not just for the tenants here at the mills,
Right.
but really for Rocky Mount, Eastern North Carolina, and really also into the Triangle.
Let's say you,
You know.
you could go easily into the
Right.
Piedmont area.
Within an hour or 2 hours of driving, realistically, I mean, Richmond is part
That's
of
true.
that circle, because if you just go up an hour and a half north, right, you sort of
Right.
hit Richmond really, or 2 hours. But and get people in and essentially start teaching where your daily experience and knowledge that you pick up as you go, as most craft brewers do, is added by what we're doing here. So we're not talking about how to brew beer and how to brew a beer correctly in terms of just getting a beer out at the end, but with this initial big class that we're offering April 21st is an in-depth look at the raw materials, the milling in specific. The milling is based on what most people have in terms of equipment and understanding, is a huge opportunity and also a weak link in most brewers' understanding on how to make good beer.
Yeah.
Or how to succeed in making better beer and really take control of, once you start mashing in, what happens and how it happens. And so we're going to take an in-depth look at milling, mashing, and really go into depth based on all the different reactions that are going on.
Right.
And what the different raw ingredients and how they handle before you even start in the brew house, how that impacts the flavors and certain outcomes also on the production level in terms of filtration, how the beers will ferment out, and so really sort of focus in on this. And it's going to be a 2-day seminar, and we brought in a really accomplished retired brewmaster, Peter Kramer,
Right.
who started out at Weinstefan in Germany, then did a lot of research and consulting out of the VLB school in Berlin, worked there for a long time, did a bunch of scientific research as well, wrote a PhD, and then eventually merged into working for the Heineken Global Operations and was the brewmaster who was sent around the world to various factories, brewing factories, really large brewing operations that Heineken had purchased or overhauled, and so he would come in and troubleshoot and dial in systems and operations. And he's now retired and more available for helping the next generation sort of get into the swing of things. So he'll be coming out, leading the class with my support as part of this Rocky Mountain Mills Nash Community College educational sort of stride that we're putting forward. Is that there'll be, besides this very specific sort of focused 2-day class, I'm going to start a weekly program really every Tuesday night for an hour and a half or so here in this classroom, where we just get together, initially meet up, and then once everybody has showed up, and everybody is really everybody, so we're going to reach out to all the breweries in Eastern North Carolina and I said the Triangle as well, and kind of get a bigger scope and just invite anybody to come in. And it's going to be very specific subjects again as well. We're not going to try and teach how to make beer in this general idea, but really go in and do a whole series on just carbonation and foam, and and then maybe filtration, beer transfers, how to keep a clean brewery, and then in connection with Nash, we're going to do OSHA classes, forklift certification. So we're going to have a schedule
Right.
that is geared towards breweries taking opportunities to get either a certificate or a piece of a subject that they are really interested in, and then develop this as we go. As more questions come up over the subject, we'll revisit it. My plan is to have a whole set of ideas in there that are about running a successful brewing business and what that means, and kind of take some case studies and say, okay, what does a taproom brewery look like that's successful in the state or in the region, or what does a brew pub look like? Mm-hmm. How much employees, how much money is involved? Where you can make and break it, and with Nash, it's a great partnership, right? Because there's a strong culinary program, there's a small business component to it, and so all these pieces will be highlighted with a focus on mainly what the tenants call for, but also what brewers around are asking for, and then do this on a regular basis so people know every Tuesday there's going to be something.
I ask everybody, what's your go-to beer?
So, as a brewer, I don't know what other people say. We always say, the beer that I just had in my hand. And so last night I had a Creature Comforts dark stout that they made, oatmeal stout. So that was delicious.
Okay. So the next one's always the best one, right?
Yeah. So we'll see what happens later today.
All right. Sebastian, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Brewing NC. I'm Frank Bookart. We'll see you next time.